25 years, quarter of a century. Not bad, but not great, actually. If you're playing cricket, you wouldn't even get a standing ovation. Probably not a polite clap, unless you were in a super over, when 25 would be pretty good. But in the normal slog of Sunday afternoon at Headingley, I think this is very average, so let's just thank Paul for his averageness up to this point. But at least we can agree it's a good moment to pause and to give thanks for the priesthood and for Father Paul. He's a loyal son of the north, born of Yorkshire soil. I think he dropped a few of his Yorkshire vowels when he went down to Cambridge, and even more when he went to London, and even more when he went to Rome. I think he had a crisis every time he was on the train coming up past the Watford Gap, not sure whether to say love or love, or however it is you say that word up here in the Eucharistic prayer. But I'm glad he's settled back into his true northernness now, and he's at peace with himself and with his life here in the parish. All of this reflects Paul's love for language, the English literature that inspired him, his first career as a journalist, in case some of you didn't know that, and his continuing interest in words and language and the beauty of language. It's not just his love for words, though. It reflects the bigness of Paul's heart, I think. Yes, he has a towering intellect, but for me, it's the heart of Father Paul that's the most important thing. It's his love for Yorkshire, for this place, for this land, for his home diocese of Leeds. It's his love for the cities and the towns and villages of this place. Its countryside, its food, its culture, its beer, its humour. It's Paul's love for his family and his friends, for his dear mother and father, whom he mentioned at the beginning of Mass, for his two brothers and their extended family, and the Irish roots that take him back across the waters. It's Paul's love for people. Yes, he longs to be alone on his day off, walking in the wilds, we all know that, but he's utterly gregarious at the same time. And it's his love for the communities that he's served over these 25 years and before. Top of the list, the people of Bradford, of his parish here, but all of the communities that he's served over these years. As a curate, as a parish priest, as a school chaplain, as a university chaplain, as vocations director, as bishop's secretary for Archbishop Arthur. The happy times they had together, the merry holidays I had coming up to Bishop's house here to see Paul. I know that his role as bishop's secretary went very well until Bishop Arthur realised that Paul couldn't read a map. And Paul realised that his role was not just to drink Prosecco with the good and the great, but to get his bishop to the distant parishes of the diocese on time. And I think that's when some deeper conversations began. So there have been successes and failures, and I've had one or two doubts about one or two pastoral decisions that he shared with me. But what I've never doubted is Father Paul's love for the Lord, his love for God's people, and his love for the priesthood. Never for a moment. In the scriptures today, we have two images of priesthood. One is from St. Paul in his first letter to the Thessalonians. And here the priest, the apostle, is a missionary priest who comes to a community as a brother to share the gospel, the good news, yes, but also, as St. Paul says, to share his own self. It's a beautiful line. For the priest to love, but to allow himself to be loved and accepted for the person he is. The priest not as a stranger, but as a brother. What a beautiful model of priesthood for us. And I think it says something about the special gift of the diocesan priest, which is to belong to a family and a community. As diocesan priests, we are not special guests, we are part of a community, sharing this life, sharing our strengths and our weaknesses. There's no pretense with the diocesan priest. It's a man, a brother, called to be a priest and called to be here through God's providence and through the ministry of the bishop. And the second image of priesthood is from Jesus in St. Matthew's Gospel today. The priest here is a servant leader. A servant leader. And Jesus says to the apostles, if you want to be great, and you should want to be great, if you want to be a leader, to be truly respected, to have true authority, then you must be a servant. And the Son of Man, said Jesus, came to be served, not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. We as Catholic leaders, as priests, have sometimes forgotten that first of all we are called to be servants, and I'm not speaking of Father Paul here at all. Sometimes all of us can forget what it means to truly lead. Sometimes we can be leaders who do not serve. Less common, but sometimes we can be servants who do not lead. We need to be fathers, it is true, but we also need to be brothers, belonging to the community, working and living with and for others. And we also need to be sons, to remember that everything we have received as priests, as men, is a gift from God the Father. And that in a beautiful way, we are sons of our communities before we are spiritual fathers. We are sons of the church, which is why we must be so accountable and transparent. And we are sons of Mary, and how lovely it is to remember that today is the feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and that Paul is a son of Mary. I started by mentioning the cricket. Let me finish with a tennis story, because we've just finished Wimbledon. Yesterday I was getting the train through London Bridge Underground station, and there were two Wimbledon posters there. One of the posters, the photo was of a ball boy, a close-up, on one knee, ready to sprint across for the ball. And the phrase, the logo next to the photo, emblazoned over the photo of this ball boy, it said, "The better they are, the less you notice them." Ball boys and ball girls, the better they are, the less you notice them. And the second poster, just down the tube, it was a similar poster, but this was a photo of a woman umpiring a tennis match, sitting on that amazing umpire's chair. And the logo, the strapline, the phrase printed there with this poster, it said, 14,900 seats, one harder than the rest. 14,900 seats. I guess that's how many seats there are at Wimbledon. One of them harder than the rest. Do you see why these two posters struck me as I was getting the train and thinking about coming up to this celebration of priesthood today? They both say something about the priesthood. On the one hand, the priesthood, like the ball boy, is meant to be something hidden, something humble, something about service. The priest, in this sense, is not meant to be at the centre of things. Jesus Christ and his message of salvation is at the centre of things. Jesus is the high priest. He stands there in the centre of the liturgy and of our communities, and the priest is the humble servant who needs to be forgotten and to forget himself, like the ball boy and the ball girl. But on the other hand, sometimes, yes, often, the priest needs to be in the spotlight, in the hot seat. He needs to take a stand and to lead, to be with Jesus, the Good Shepherd, the loving spiritual father, a brother and a son, but also a father who is trying to speak the words of Jesus Christ and to follow Jesus as the Good Shepherd. The humble servant, the loving shepherd, the ball boy and the umpire. I won't pretend that Father Paul has always succeeded at this or has always kept the balance, but I'm absolutely sure that over these 25 years he has always tried. And he has always tried with the love for God, a love for his people, and a love for the priesthood. And really, honestly, there is nothing more than you could ask for your priest.